Hello, this is Framescop again. I made quite a bit of progress on the Framescop editor since the last video, which was, I think, a couple months ago now. Just wanted to show an update on what we can do now and what we have since the last video, because it got a lot more help and we're almost done. We almost have a complete data set, and I also want to show one of the ideas of what I intend to do with this data. So this is Petscop 3. If we go on ahead, if we hit play, you can see it, it's there. We're still only doing every other frame just for making storage easier. So it's skipping every other frame, which, is not the end of the world. Yes, we lose a little bit of precision, but it's really not a big deal. I don't think we need the data to be that precise. So if you take any TSV file, you click and drag it onto here, onto the window, it will load it. You can close that window now. So now we have all these keyframes loaded up, which is why I have this sort of barcode looking thing. And now if we go over to here, you see that his inputs are being logged. Now again, this was something that was done completely manually, this person, I'm not going to try to pronounce that, I'm sorry. They just sat through frame by frame and just inferred what buttons he's pressing. And there is a certain degree of guesswork that goes into that, but I figure if we do our best, it's better than nothing. And I think for the types of analysis that I'd like to do, it doesn't need to be 100% perfect. It just needs to be approximately close. But let's talk about some of the features that we have now. So for one thing, these buttons are clickable now, which is a lot nicer. So you can just click on the buttons and toggle them. You can pan left and right with the scroll wheel, which was a weird UI decision, but honestly, I think it really helps. It makes it a lot faster and more efficient. You can dock the UI on top if you're trying to see this area below. And also all of the buttons that have hotkeys also have some clickable UI equivalent, so you can drive with the mouse. And one of my favorite features is what I call the map. So let's go back to the beginning. So we hit play. We now have this sort of path that shows where Paul moves. Now, this isn't perfect because this map is really just a visualization. Oh yeah, if you mouse over the map, it shows you what that frame looked like. Also a nice little thing. This just shows you a visualization of the inputs. So if he's running into a wall, obviously you don't see that. And also because Petscop's movement is really slidey, whenever he stops moving, he decelerates for 2 or 3 frames. It doesn't capture that in this map either, so it's not precise enough to be a position map, but it is a nice visualization of the inputs. And I've actually found this to be quite useful while I'm collecting inputs, that there have been little pauses in his movements that I didn't catch at the time, but are much more obvious looking at the map. But we can also pan ahead and we can see stuff like this, and you can actually use the map to skip ahead. So you can click on a particular part of the map and just go there in the video. Yeah, it's a little choppy, lags a little bit, and that's just because there's a lot of graphics calls that are drawing all these dots, and I can make that a little nicer. I just haven't. To be honest, this feature was implemented kind of sloppily, and I'll probably revisit it, but I had a better idea. Rather than refining this too terribly much, I think in terms of my goals for what Framescop is supposed to do, this is sufficient, but I do want to explore this idea more. Which brings me to the thing that I'm working on right now. This is what I'm calling Mapscop. Pause. So, on the surface, this looks a lot like Framescop, although this is not designed to be collecting inputs. This is designed just to show the replays, basically. And the hope is, if we go on ahead, so there's a key difference with these map renderings as opposed to the other ones. And it's a really subtle thing, and something you don't really think about unless you've programmed this sort of thing before, but these diagonal lines here. So if you're moving to the right, you have an x velocity of 1. If you're moving down, you have a y velocity of 1 or -1, depending on what you consider up or down to be. But if you're moving to the right and moving down, that vector has a magnitude of 1. At least I think it does in Petscop. Now, mathematically, that does not mean that the x component is 1 and the y component is 1. The math doesn't work out that way. You got to do some vector math to normalize that vector to 1. So why does this matter? Well, what I'm hoping to do with Mapscop is create a comprehensive map of all of the levels in the game, and using the Framescop data to create basically a mini-map for all of the Petscop series. I don't know what specifically this would be used for, it'd just be more data to look at. Now, as you can see over here, when we get to the sort of the child library, everything's just sort of a mess and all over the place because there's constantly entering and leaving and like navigating the menus system in the child library. So what I'm hoping to do is if I can implement walls and have the lines actually stop when he hits a wall, then we can create an actual realistic map. This might also mean that I'd have to implement the deceleration that the actual character does, but perhaps not. We'll see. Anyway, that's what I'm working on right now, and as always, if you'd like to contribute, this code will be on GitHub. If you want to contribute more frame data, we are actually still missing a couple episodes. If you'd like to contribute, you can join our Discord and possibly help us collect some more frames. We're still missing a couple of episodes. The tool should be pretty easy to use, and if you need help, obviously we'll be around and can help. If you also want to help with the data analysis part of the project, I'm also totally open to ideas on that. I want all this data to be totally available for everyone, so if anyone has any great ideas, they'll be able to do so. The actual data that Framescop collects is all in TSV format, so it can be uploaded straight to Google Drive. So the Google Drive link, the Google Sheets link that I'll have below, should have all of the data that we have so far. If it doesn't, it's either data we don't have yet or data I forgot to upload. So let me know.